What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 70 of Park to Prem here with Town Town. Today, it's the start of Season 9, yes, our second season in League One. If you missed it earlier on today, we had the end of season review, and we're ready to get straight back in at the deep end, get back on that horse, and hopefully this time we will conquer this league. So looking at this year, media prediction is first. We've made some really big additions to the side. You may have noticed it, Smolyo still here. That is the biggest addition of all this year. We've been able to renew his loan for another season. Watford were a little unsure about us loaning him again, said that we didn't have high enough quality players. They had a change of heart towards the end of June, so we've renewed it. He's here. Very happy. That's lots of verys, but yeah, he's just... I was never going to be able to replace him in goal, and whilst we did make one goalkeeper signing this year, having him on the team sheet is of course huge for us. Now, you may have noticed, eagle-eyed viewers, that the club value is £6 million and we have £8 million in transfer budget and lots of available wage budget. We've made some very big sales, similar to the Smolyo sale last year, and I've used that immediately to go ahead and, well, we were already doing the training facility upgrades, but we've gone and managed to get the youth facilities upgraded this year as well, which was a big concern for me, but part of the long-term strategy here of selling on players in order to help us out and really build an infrastructure here at this club. So if we look at the balance, we have £20 million now sat here, which is crazy. I mean, unthinkable money. And that was largely born out of free sales. And in the market this year, we've been busy. I've not been spending a load of money because whilst we have got all this money now in the bank, I would like to hold on to it. Firstly, to help upgrade stuff off the pitch. But secondly, because I know when we get to the Championship, we should be able to attract higher quality players. And it's at that point that I might need to spend a little bigger. But I feel like spending within the means that we have now should be good enough to get us out of League One. And I feel like we've addressed a lot of the problem areas. So the sales really can be broken down into three categories. We have the sentimental sales, which were Warrington and Cumwenda. Obviously, we talked about it last video, but I did decide the museum, it was time to close it. You know, it's been a good run, but the under-23s is actually now becoming a development team. You know, they play in a competitive league. So Warrington ended up going to Bolton in a weird twist of fate. The other player who left us, Cumwenda. I'm upset about this one, but I want to see him have a proper career. I don't want to see him stuck for the next 10 years in our under-23s. I would love to bring him back down the line, but he wasn't playing for the Malawi national team. I want to see him continue to excel, and it felt a bit like releasing a rehabilitated animal into the wild. So we've let Henry go, the schoolboy. Hopefully one day he will return as a teacher and as a coach here at the club. The next category of sales is players who were massively overpaid, and I just was falling out of favour with them. So Sean McAllister ended up going to Ipswich. He was on, I think, close to £2,000 a week. The other sales, three players that we talked about previously, Mampala, Ballo and Rush. All players who have played an essential part in their first team. Rush, of course, back when we were in League 2 was good, and for the first half of last year. Ballo never really hit the ground running, a player we signed upon promotion to League 2. Last year played, I think, 2 starts all season. And, well, last but not least, Mampala. Sad to see him go, but he was on too much money. We are covering some of his wages still, and he is going to be playing in this league with Leyton Orient, but the sad reality was he just isn't going to play for us this coming year. We've brought in a few new players, really have strengthened that team for that additional push. He wasn't up to snuff. And well, then we come on to the three big boy sales, and I guess by comparison, Ericart is comparatively quite small. I love looking at this graph at the top because you look at these little blips here, the Rodri sale and the Gouda sale, and how huge they were at the time for us. And then you look at our sales in the last couple of years. Of course, Smolyo for £9 million, now dwarfed by a few record sales. Yes, we've broken our record sale 3 times in the last 12 months. And well, we'll talk about those in a second. But firstly, let's just talk about Melvin Carter here. A good player, had a fantastic loan spell in the National League North with Bolton. A player who has a lot of potential, but at 19 years old, I'm really not convinced he's going to achieve it. At least with us. So we've ended up letting him go. Swansea have more money than sense. We got £2 million for him. I think that's a good little sale. We then come on to CC. Let us down massively last year. There were lots of teams interested. I ended up, at the end of last episode, if you saw it, we offered him out to clubs. We had some teams offering the region of £3 million. I tried to negotiate with them. I felt like we could get a better deal if we just waited that little bit longer. And when the transfer window opened, Newcastle came a-knocking. They've given us £9.5 million plus a 50% sell-on clause. Just fantastic business, really. It had to be done. And, well, I feel like he justifies his price tag. The next player I don't think does justify his price tag. And I don't know what West Brom are smoking, but I want some of it. Actually, I don't want some of it because it would make me make terrible transfers. Cyril Baumann here is 19. He's got good potential. He's consistent. Last year, he had a pretty mediocre loan spell at Boston United in the National League. And I saw a few teams interested, and I was kind of sat looking at him thinking, he's just not going to fulfill his potential. He's just not good enough. So we ended up offering it out to clubs, and West Brom were interested, and they offered £5 million just outright. And I was kind of sat there thinking, well, they've just offered what I offered him out for. Maybe we should try 10 million. You know, just up it a little bit, see who's interested. I'm sure you've done it yourself. You're playing Football Manager. You're kind of going fishing. We went fishing with Cyril. I put what I thought was a completely unreasonable offer out there, and West Brom went and bid the money for him, which I can't understand. If we just look at West Brom, they're an established Premier League team at this point. They've been in the league the last couple of years. In terms of landmarks, they have had a tycoon come in who's been putting money in, so I guess they just have all this money, even if he has scaled down his funding. You can see here, because I know someone's going to say, Jack, I bet you added yourself as manager and gave yourself all the money. No. Scott Parker has no business sense, it would seem. And we got £10 million for Baumann. And between those three players, I feel like that is the next kind of 3 or 4 years sorted at this club. And I'm sat now looking at the bank balance thinking we can really give the Championship a good go in our first season in it, assuming we do get promoted. So great transfer dealings there. Obviously, the training facilities and youth facilities are on the upgrade. The infrastructure at the club is getting elevated, and that's really, really important. And I feel like we've also elevated the quality of the first team without really breaking the bank. You can see we have spent £1.6 million, which compared to previous years is a reasonable amount. Last year, just for comparison, we spent £700,000. So we've doubled our transfer outlay record, but we have made some really good additions to the team. So I'm going to go through these in order of fee. So we'll start with Diawara, who is a French centre mid. The French second division has turned out to be very, very good for us in terms of picking out some good talent for reasonable prices. Of course, we were able to sign Nkololo last year. Diawara this year joins us. His natural role is a deep line playmaker, but he has the player trait gets forward whenever possible. With that in mind, I feel like he could be a very good centre attacking midfielder for us. So this is where you will see him a fair bit. Of course, if Dazelle does get injured, and I'm a little bit worried about that because we lent on Andre a lot last year, and he is injury prone, he will slot in there. But he has great athleticism, Diawara, really kind of versatile sentiment. You know, he could pretty much play any role that we need to in our team, and that is useful. The next player we've signed, another big transfer from a all too familiar team, a new record earner at the club as well. With the sales that we've had, the wage budget has gone up, the spending that we can really afford to do has gone up as well, and Cory Sacco joins us as our first player on a 5-figure wage per week. He joins from Sochaux Montbéliard, of course, a team that we're very familiar with. 25 years old, a really well-rounded midfielder, comes in to replace Needham. Needham last year was solid, but was never truly outstanding. Sacco here, just a little bit well-rounded, better rounded in all areas. I know people are going to look at this big spike here and go, wow, look how much better he is in this area. I feel like this polygon's always a bit of a false reading because that's the aerial ability. That is just his heading and jumping reach, which for a centre mid isn't all that important. But just even as a central midfielder on defend, you can see here, generally across the board, a upgrade. I think there'll still be competition in this position, but it certainly adds some much needed strength. And I do have a lot of, expectations and hope that Sacco here is going to be a real revelation alongside Dazelle and Diawara in the midfield. Anyway, the next player we signed, Carlo Rice. Yes, the left-back position is resolved. I'm sorry, Norris, you are done, my friend. We have a player in Rice who is superb. He was signed from Sheffield United, for £300,000. You can see a couple of years ago he was loaned to Walsall, then he was loaned to Northampton. This year he was loaned to Walsall and then we went and signed him, which meant that the loan got cancelled and he joined us. Walsall relegated to our division this year, so there might be a little bit of a rivalry there off the back of this dealing. But Rice, in his previous 2 loan spells in League One, got promotion with both Walsall and Northampton. So he's got 2 promotions from the league we're in the last 2 years. I hope that's going to help us out. And with him being Portuguese, he adds to the growing Portuguese contingents in the team, which should hopefully help him, I guess, gel into the squad. Anyway, we then have Vasily Ignatovic, who is joining us from Crewe. He got a work permit on the basis that he's about to get English secondary nationality. You can see here, signed for £100,000 from the League Two side. I think he's a very, very good centre-back, one for the future, lots of potential. If an injury crisis happens, he may well find himself in the first team, which I think he would be ready to do a job in. But yeah, good player for the future. Very, very good mentals as well, aged only 17. We then have James Molyneux, the bargain buy of the window. We signed him for £71,000. Wolverhampton Wanderers signed him for £3.5 million a few years ago now. You can see, look at him, a really, really athletic striker. He is going to come in. We're going to give him a run out as our starting striker to start the year and see how he gets on. I would love his kind of first touch and dribbling and finishing to be that little bit better. He is only 20 though, and he can play a real variety of attacking midfielder positions. So expect to see him play, a few different spots this year. I think for the fee that we've signed him for, a good addition. I was concerned that within the first team we were, I don't want to say running out of English players, but the number of English players wasn't as big as it has been in previous years. So I wanted to bring in some English talent, and there's not much better value for money you're going to get than this guy for, under £100,000. So a great addition will start today. Big, big expectations. Then we have a mix of freebie bargain buys. We'll start with the freebie bargain buys and then talk about the young players for the future. So we have here Fernandes, comes in as a backup goalkeeper, very well-rounded. Portuguese, fairly professional personality, not bad from a tutoring perspective, not on big wages at all. And in a similar mould but outfield, we have Michel Roof, who you will see this year, I'm sure. He can play as a striker, as a centre attacking mid, 25 years old, Scottish, joined from Aberdeen on a free transfer, very low wages, decent length on his contract as well. I don't believe the review that he's a good player for League Two sides. I do feel like he's better than that. I feel like especially for the roles that he's good at, he's very, very good at them. Similarly, I guess, to how Dazelle is very good at deep line playmaker, Roof here, really good advance forward, really good central attacking midfielder on attack as well. He will certainly, I think, compete with Diawara this year for that spot in the team. We then come on to a load of young players for the future. I'm going to rapid fire through most of these just because some of them will make it, some of them won't. That's the nature of the beast. These players released from Premier League academies who deem them not good enough for them. So Colin Smart joins from Bournemouth, good little centre-back. The centre-back position we have a lot of strength and depth in, but model citizen personality is superb, can play defensive midfielder as well, and keep an eye out for him. He could be huge. The next player, though, in my opinion, ever so slightly better, Wayne Hall, signed again from a Premier League outfit, this time Norwich City. More of a well-rounded centre-back, I would say, this guy. Very good physicals, very good speed. Only 18, fairly professional personality. You love to see it. These are all very low-risk transfers, and we've not just signed defenders either. Eddie Jamieson here, similar mould in the centre of the midfield, signed from Liverpool, aged only 18. We also have here Mike Richards, again, signed for a small fee. This guy from Chelsea, excited to see what maybe he can develop into, but at the same time, I'm not going to lose sleep if they don't develop. And last but not least, at least right now, we have Scott Ferguson, who he signed from Hibernian in the Scottish Premier League. Good player. If he turns into a great player, great. He was a bit of a punt of the lot. He's probably the most underwhelming now in hindsight. So yes, we've made some very big additions to the team. I feel like we've addressed a lot of the problem areas. And when I look at our team now, I'm very, very excited to see what we can do. You may have noticed we didn't end up signing a big first-team centre-back, and that was a position that throughout the transfer window I did consider, going out and splurging big on, but actually in the end I've decided that I'm going to give some faith to Ronnie Williamson. He did a really good year last year in training and just developing, has turned into a player who is good enough for this level, in my opinion, and I feel like alongside Hugo, he's going to be a really, really good fit. He's either-footed, can play left centre-back. If it turns out that it's not really working with him, we've got plenty of other centre-back options. And come January, if we're really worrying about it, we could go out there and spend $1 million plus on that centre-back of our dreams if we so wish. Anyway, in terms of system, not a great deal changing, although we are going to be trying 2 inside forwards this year. Kosic, I am training to play out on the left. He's not ready to play there yet, but with his right-footedness, I do feel like it would aid his game quite significantly. In terms of the team, Smoljo in goal. I mean, is this his 3rd or 4th year now consecutively at the club? It's his 4th year playing regular first-team football for us, which is really, really cool to see. Of course, Taulor, home grown at this point, and born and raised, I guess, in Taulor. Not born, but raised, certainly. Yeah, he is Croatian. I don't think Taulor's in Croatia, although you could be forgiven for getting a little bit confused with the number of Croatians we have. Anyway, right back, Ryan Grant joined us midway through last year, was very, very solid, holds down his position in the team. Similar story, just copy and paste what I just said for Lino Hugo at centre-back. Alongside him, we've got Williamson, who we've talked about. Rice, the new left-back. Back-to-back promotions from this division before. He's got to have something about him. He's got to be a good look charm. In the centre of the midfield, fans' player of the year and my player of the year, Andre Dezel, holds down his spot in the team as our deep-line playmaker. He is surrounded by 2 Frenchmen in Diawara and Sacco. We'll see how they get on today. Kosic out on the right. Molyneux is going to play as our advanced forward to start the year. We'll see how he gets on. And out on the left, DKM holds down his position in the team. He's a good player for this level. Maybe we could look to upgrade him if we desperately need to. But we've got, quality players on the bench that I'm not overly worried about it. Speaking of the bench, a few more familiar names here. Zach Gannon, of course, playing centre-back. Liam Coyle, a good backup right-back and defensive midfielder that we may call upon if needed. Also Needham, similar, but I guess the reverse, the flipped. He plays left back and centre mid, but between them, 2 very good defensive options to shut down games. We then have, of course, Shuttleworth, who can play a real variety of positions at this point. Expect him to come in, I guess, as a deep line playmaker if we need him to. And Kololo, one of a number of attacking options on the bench. I am training him to play centre mid because I do feel like as he enters his mid-30s, that pace is going to go down. It's something that he relies on a little heavily right now. I do feel like as a centre mid he could, be an okay player still. We then have Michel Roof, the young Scot, who is definitely an impact sub and a half and really could make a difference to our season, I feel like, getting us points. And to start the year, controversial, I'm going to go with Dimitri Sayer and have Leighton Stewart not in the match squad. I feel like when the season ends, I like to kind of reset the form. I like to reevaluate everyone. The sad reality is, while Stewart was superb for us last year, by comparison to the other players we've got, he's just not good enough. And if we need a goal scorer, if our goal scorers aren't doing their thing and he finds form, he will become the starter again. But it's a bit of a clean slate this year, and I feel like in our quest for promotion, we need to be a little bit more ruthless, I guess, in how we approach our squad building and team selection. So let's get into this game. We're taking on Absolute. We are favourites for promotion. I'm hoping I'm not going to live to regret the fact that we've not spent more money in the transfer market. I didn't feel like it was necessary to overhaul the side. Sure, we've added, I think, 5 new names into the starting 11. But on the whole, there's a decent number of familiar faces here at this point. And on the bench, there's not been a whole host of changes. Really, we've focused on a few core positions in the team, upgraded them as necessary. And hopefully, with those weaknesses, those chinks in the armour that cost us over the course of last year, kind of fixed and I guess the dents that were left buffed out, we're going to be in a position here to get promotion from League One. If we don't get promoted this year, we perhaps have to, not necessarily panic a little, but I will begin to worry. I will panic, basically. But, well, hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we're going to get a great start here. And while Kosic, we're going to really keep our fingers crossed, can continue his form from last year. A little bit of an ambitious effort from range there, although it very nearly snuck into the back of the net. Kosic got, 10 goals in 13 games to end the second half of last year. I need him to do numbers like that again if we really want to be as good as I think that we are. Hugo lumps it forward. Molyneux, on his debut, clean through. He's offside. Don't celebrate it if he missed anyway, so it doesn't matter. But the linesman straight away with his flag up on the far side. Although immediately another highlight going. Sacco is very tall, isn't he, at centre mid? I didn't realise how tall he was. Diawara dispossessed. Can we get the ball here? Ball lumped over the top. Hugo, can you get back? He can. He tackles. Smoljo, just cool, calm and collected, passes it away. Maybe a little bit of a warning in our direction that Ebbsfleet, could still hit us on the break. So far in this game, we are dominating possession. We're having significantly more shots. We'll hope that can continue as Grant whips it in, headed away to Dazal. Now with Sacco. How tall is Sacco? He is a giant, isn't he? At centre mid. Not the best of passes back to Rice. All the new players, it feels like, are linking up. I feel like there is big pressure on Williamson here because he's 18, 19 years old, coming straight into the first team, promoted from the under-23s. Showed a lot of improvement, but this is a whole new level for him. Right now, though, he looks fairly cool and composed on the ball. I don't want to jinx it, but he looked competent there, and competent is what we need. Anyway, Grant down this right-hand side, gives it through to Kosic, who has the pace to cut inside if necessary. Gives it back to Grant, who crosses it in. Molyneux is there! And he gets a goal on his debut. £73,000 from Wolverhampton Wanderers. He had offers from MLS clubs, and he actually decided to stay with us. That might be down to the fact that I have paid him £6,000 a week, which you could argue is overpaying for him. But, I mean, you can't really put a price on the goals that might get us promoted to the Championship. And despite not having a real aerial ability, he's had not a bad little header there to find it into the back of the net. Ball whipped in here. Can we deal with it? No, we can't. Oh my gosh. Hugo's clearance hits our defender on the back and very, very nearly ended up in our own net. That could have been extremely embarrassing. We now have a set piece to deal with here. It's crossed in and wow, a fish of a header. A fish of a header isn't a thing. It's a thunderous header in off the crossbar. We'll fish with it. He tells us to go fish, and well, we're going to pick up some cards off the floor and hope that this game doesn't end with a draw. It's 1-1. That is questionable marking from the set piece. The header itself was superb. And Ebbsfleet, with their first shot of the game on target, do find the back of the net, unfortunately for us. Gonna get shouty with 7 minutes left. Let's see if we can really make something of this game. Hugo goes wide to Grant, who already has one assist to his name. Now with Sacco. Really interested to see how Sacco does as the centre mid on defend duty, because in the second half of last year when we made that change, Needham did extremely well there. There was part of me that wanted to keep him in at that position, but I just felt like, the upgrade was necessary ultimately, to really help us longer term, and I felt like we found a player that really fit the bill. And well, Molyneux, what a run this is forward, hits it. I mean, it would have been an incredible goal, but the run didn't really get replicated with the quality of the finish. The finish was awful. Hits the side netting. 1-1 at the break. I'm not happy, boys. That is not good enough. You can see here, Kosic out on the right. Little bit of a cause for concern, perhaps. On a 6.3 rating. Someone warn him. Someone tell him to be the player he was last year for us. That's what we need right now. Coming up to an hour gone and no new highlights leaves me, thinking about possible changes. I'm going to take off Diawara and I'm going to bring in Roof. And the other change I'm going to make, I think I'm going to bring in Shuttleworth for Kosic out on the right-hand side. So a double change in the centre attacking midfield department. We'll hope that's going to work in our favour, although he could be called into defensive action. Roof, though, wins the ball once, wins it again. Look at the young Scot go. Was never given a first-team opportunity at Aberdeen, and that's why. The new players feel like they're trying to make a point on their debut. First Molyneux, now Roof, kind of picking up the ball, dribbling it past everyone, and then just smashing it into the side netting. A draw here against Ebbsfleet, it wouldn't be terrible, but it would be a disappointment. That is without any doubt whatsoever. I'm going to go very attacking and really try and push for the win here. Ebbsfleet last year a mid-table team. They did have one of the best goal-scoring records in the league. So the fact we've only conceded one, at least right now, is promising. But we have the quality, I feel like, to go forward here and get a goal. And that's what we're going to endeavour to do as Shuttleworth brings it forward. Tries to thread through Molyneux. Falls to him. Hits it. Hits the woodwork. The finish was a little bit flat, wasn't it? It wasn't exactly a pile driver into the bottom corner. And the ball whipped in there. Not particularly great. Ebbsfleet going to live to fight another day. The woodwork coming to their rescue alongside their keeper. 2 minutes left and This feels like it's destined to finish 1-1. I don't know what to tell you. It's a disappointing game. A game that we have dominated, but just been unable to find a breakthrough in. That we were not good enough, boys. We were good enough in terms of, you know, if you just looked at the stats, it wasn't bad, but you scored 1 goal. That's not going to win you very many football matches, especially with our defensive record from last year. I guess the one silver lining is the fact that Molyneux scored on his debut. Anyway, I'm not going to rush into big panics too much because we've got a very big squad at this point. A team with lots of squad depth. I really don't feel like there's any gap in our team right now, which is, of course, a great position to be in. We have still got a little while, so if I decided, you know, after a couple more games, I'm going to go and splurge big, we have got some crazy, crazy money to spend on players. £8 million, £35,000 in the wages. As I said, I kind of want to hold on to that if necessary. It feels like at this point here, investing in the infrastructure, getting these facilities upgraded has to be the immediate aim. And the money that we've got now is going to enable us to do that. But anyway, guys, that is going to be all from me today. Let me know what you made of our transfer dealings. I know people are going to be disappointed about Kumwenda leaving the club and perhaps also Warrington, but it felt like it was necessary, you know, as we advance just to really help out our under-23s. I was looking at our under-23s recently and just kind of picking out a mock 11. We are getting into a position now where we have, you know, a player for pretty much every spot in the team with some significant first-team potential. And that certainly leaves me excited for the future. And, you know, when you look at our under-23s now, it feels like we are setting ourselves up for more long-term success that is sustainable rather than a short-term flash in the pan. But anyway, folks, that is going to be all from me today. Thank you for watching as always. And, well, we'll be back very, very soon. I don't know when. We'll see what happens, you know, what big games emerge. It should be a good one. It's got to be better than the game against Ebbsfleet. And I don't know about you. I've got a very, very good feeling about this League One season. And, well, hopefully it's going to come to fruition. It is me, Jack. And I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.